We know one big thing about Star Wars Episode 9, and that is that this movie is going to have the most planets and characters out of every single Star Wars movie to date. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, a lot of people have been wondering more and more about Rey, Poe Dameron, and Finn, and Kylo and crew of exactly what they will be doing in Star Wars Episode 9. Now, we do know that a majority of the crew and the cast are over right now in Jordan, filming one of the major scenes in Star Wars Episode 9. Now, in Jordan, they're going to stay there for a total of 3 months. I believe that they've been there about 2 months now, on and off, so they'll be leaving there in a couple of weeks, and they will actually wrap filming, give or take, around mid-December. So, looking at Star Wars Episode 9 specifically, a lot of things have really been happening over in Jordan, which could very well tell us that we are going back to the planet Jakku for a fight scene in Episode 9. We heard about this lightly just a couple of weeks ago, and more things really are starting to progress here. So specifically, what's really interesting is that this week, Daisy Ridley is set to shoot a fight and chase scene in Jordan that will involve her and her stunt double on a speeder being towed by a 4x4 and using a blaster prop to shoot at other speeders in front and in back of her. Many pyrotechnics will be used for this scene to emulate chaos between the speeders. The stunt men and women that will be riding on the speeders are said to be dressed as creatures that you could imagine and expect would be on the planet Jakku. The costumes of these creatures almost have a Jawa look to them, however shredded all over. Another sequence to be filmed in between Ridley and Oscar Isaac running away from explosives that may end up being blasts from incoming TIE fighters in the sky. A large set piece resembling Kylo Ren's shuttle will be a part of the scene and indicates that Kylo Ren will be a part of this sequence. Finally, 6 actors that are all male will be a part of this big scene. They may be the Knights of Ren, as they are all decked out in black and had similar helmets that they were holding for rehearsals. So what's really intriguing to me is that this kind of reminds me of the invasion of Jakku in The Force Awakens, when Rey and Finn are running away from all the things that are really happening from the First Order. You guys may remember all those different TIE fighters that entered the atmosphere and located both Rey and Finn's position. They start shooting at them, and just chaos begins from there. That's when they board the Millennium Falcon and start taking those TIE fighters out one by one. So it kind of seems like they're trying to do something like that, but mixing it up with quite possibly the Knights of Ren and even Kylo Ren and his shuttle, which should be a very interesting take for sure. I think that Jakku is probably going to be the planet in Episode 9 that we are actually describing here, because we do know that this is a sandy world, right? A desert world, and we also know that a lot of the concept and storyboard descriptions that we have been going over have all to do with the planet Jakku, most likely. And the greatest thing of all, if you look at The Force Awakens, you can kind of tell that they were trying to foreshadow this with Finn saying, why does everybody want to go back to Jakku? We do know that Rey wanted to go back there at one point in time. Now, looking at, how both Oscar Isaac and Daisy Ridley will have a scene together running away from something, explosions, tells us that they are going to have a lot of scenes together on this desert world, which is great. We do know that all 3 characters will be together teaming up in this movie, which honestly I think is going to be a very new angle for the Star Wars sequel trilogy, because we have yet to see this, and I feel like that is the one thing that separates this trilogy from the original trilogy, is that the 3 main characters never had a scene together per se, where they're actually doing something and trying to complete a task. I mean, if you look at, other films like A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, you see so many examples of this. So going into Star Wars Episode 9, we will be getting that treatment between both Finn, Poe, Rey, and even quite possibly Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren. So that's another thing to look forward to, is that this scene could very well feature Kylo Ren and his knights. I can't think of anybody else who the 6 figures decked out in black holding these helmets would really be, other than the Knights of Ren. Yes, sure, they could be somebody else. They could be, you know, the black stormtroopers that we have been hearing about. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but apparently Kylo Ren is going to have a brand new tier of stormtroopers that are going to be very much like the shadow troopers that you guys are pretty much familiar with in the EU and Legends material and some of the video games from the past. Shadow troopers were a big thing, and they kind of touched on this in the Disney canon in Rogue One by applying the concept of death troopers, which I honestly liked. I would love to see them return at some point in time. Now, this chase scene between both Ridley and the creatures tells us, I think, that we are back in Jakku. And there's a reason for this, is because you guys may or may not recall, just about 3 weeks ago, we heard about speeders being used for Episode 9 and how the color of the speeder for Rey was pretty much near the same to the one that we saw in The Force Awakens that she used when she was actually just, exiting that downed Star Destroyer and actually salvaged a lot of parts from there and traded them into Unkar Plutt. That same exact speeder is going to be in Star Wars Episode 9. To me, that's a dead giveaway that we are going back to Jakku, because as you all know, in The Last Jedi and in The Force Awakens, well, we didn't really see the speeder for the most part, only on the Jakku sequences. So, looking at Episode 9, the fact that speeders are really going to have a large role in this scene, and also the fact that Daisy Ridley and her stunt double will be using that orange, that creamsicle colored, speeder that she will be using against the other actors and actresses, the stunt doubles, I think it tells us that we are going back to Jakku. But we'll have to wait and see. This could be Jeddah, this could be Tatooine, this could just be another desert world that has other speeders. It's really way too early to tell, and we'll have to wait and see. But guys, I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this new dynamic in the sequel trilogy of having all three characters together fighting against these creatures, and quite possibly even the Knights of Ren, Kylo Ren and his forces invading whatever planet this really is. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.